Ron Shelp joins me now. Ron was the AIG executive responsible for government relations and international affairs. He's the author of Fallen Giant, the amazing story of Hank Greenberg and the history of AIG. Ron, welcome to Bloomberg News. Good to have you on.
Thanks, Mark. Great to be here.
Is that a possibility that some units of AIG may, in fact, have to be put into bankruptcy?
It's a possibility I'd rather not think about. I don't think it'll happen. I think the fact that Benmosche has succeeded in really an extraordinary sale of $51 billion of his two Asian units, plus another sale of his life company, Alico, around the world of 15.
Yeah.
He's taken this a long ways. And if indeed the government comes back in and over a period of time sells their shares, and the shares go up, the company grows, you could have the debt paid.
You say that he is the first decent CEO since Hank Greenberg. Why?
Well, there's lots of reasons. Mr. Liddy, a great gentleman, as everybody says, but Paulson picked him on basically 3 hours' notice when they decided to force out Wilmestad. His approach seemed to be, we just have to sell things. As an example, he sold a company that's a boiler insurance company AIG had paid about 10 years before for $1.2 billion. It was a company that made money. He sold it for about $600 billion. But the one that's always hurt me the most is the great AIG headquarters. This is a sort of great Art Deco building. It was the former headquarters of a great oil company. A couple of years before, it was selling for $400 a square foot. Liddy sold it for $100 a square foot.
And Ron, I'm going to interrupt you for just a second because we do have some breaking news. We want to give our viewers headlines. The SEC accused Walt Disney, an employee there, and her boyfriend in a, quote, scheme to sell confidential information about Disney's quarterly earnings to hedge funds. The information was disclosed in an emailed statement. We are following this story, and we will bring you more throughout the hour as soon as we get that updated information. Now back to Ron Shelp. Ron, thanks so much for letting me break in right there. Talk to me about Mr. Benmosche's battles with Washington. He, in your description, is a patient man, but how patient?
Well, he's going to have to be patient. He's dealing with Washington. As you know, he had sort of a bad start. On his second day on the job, he left for his planned vacation in Croatia, where he has a winery. That didn't go over well.
Where Bloomberg News caught up with him.
Did you? That's right. Yeah. And yet, from there, dressed casually, he talked about the future of AIG, and the best thing he did was he motivated employees. You know, people were very worried about losing all their employees. He motivated them. The spirit picked up. And then when he came back, he began to work to turn things around.
What's he going to have to tell Congress today? What do these folks want to hear?
He's going to have to tell Congress, your debt will be paid. It's on the way to being paid for the reasons I already cited. And there's a good future here, and we can make it.
What are AIG's prospects for recovery?
Oh, I think they're great for two reasons. First, they have honed down what was a gigantic operation to two basic areas. One is Chartis. That was the old AIU. That's how the company began. Chartis is a property and casualty insurance company that operates in 135 countries. They made a great deal of this $1.5 billion profit in the first quarter. The other is Sun American, basically a life company, but having other products too. That will be the core business. It'll be a smaller company, obviously, but it'll have a great core business.
Ron, what's going to happen when the government pulls out?
When the government pulls out, all sorts of great things are going to happen, I think. For one thing, I believe some of these foreign investment funds will begin to move into AIG. Other investors will begin to move in, and they can begin to make money, pay the government back if there's still debt, and grow the company to a reasonable size company.
Ron, I want to spend the last 40 seconds talking to you about this book. Was it a painful thing? Was it a heartbreaking thing for you to have to write this?
Of course it was. I mean, I was not a major investor in Greenberg terms, or the major investor in Ron Shelp terms.
And in your life, in your life's work, in your career.
Well, no, I actually only spent 12 years there. I had several careers. But I worked there, and I had a great time. Probably the most exciting job I've ever had. And I lost money. But at the same time, I was able to write the book because I had been there. People knew me and trusted me. Others were trying to write the book. But, you know, the AIG people didn't really want to talk to them, and I don't blame them. So it was an exciting time in my life, even though I had to write the book in 7 months.